dig into and see if we can get them connected here. All right, Jordan, how's it going, man?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can. Everything looks great.
If I could
Very good. Awesome. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for taking the time today. Really radical. I'll say first of all, Sator was one of those movies that I had kind of stumbled on. I had found it on Shudder. It was just something that was a recommended piece, and I'm glad that I did because
Cool.
I absolutely was in love with it and still am. So thank you for taking the time today, and I'm stoked to dig into some of the content that we're going to be today for it.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, initially before that is kind of dig into some earlier interests as far as, maybe some of the things that kind of developed your interests, and how all the things came into you getting into film. So first of all, digging into now seeing films of your own on a bigger screen, bring us back to your local movie theater or even rental shops and early impactful memories of either that come to mind.
Well, my most fondest memories are the most like previous sneaking into movie theaters. That was when I was in my teenage years before we had any money or anything. We always trying to find ways of getting into theater. A bunch of my skateboarding friends, and we would either go wait for people to come out the back exit and go in, but sometimes there's a bunch of doors that are blocking the exit that are locked, so we would all pitch together and buy one ticket, and then one of us would go in the back and take off our shoes and socks and block each door. We would, if there was a group of us, sometimes we would buy 2 tickets, and this is before there was seat assigning, and 2 of us would go in. We would, one of us would stay and give them the ticket stub, go back out and give the next person the ticket stub, and we'd I would never do that now. I mean, that's 20 years ago. Movie theaters are, now, and I'll go and support any film that I can, especially.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in some of those times, though, being younger and, it's you can't score a ticket or, even if it was something where you were young and you couldn't even buy a ticket to a rated R movie, that was, you had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, those were my fondest memories. And those are a lot of the movies that we would go into were the ones that were inspiring me at that time, action films. And I know you'll probably bring that up in a while, but yeah.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Now, as far as visiting, said theater or rental shops, tell us about a poster or maybe even a VHS cover art that drew you in, and if the movie was as good as what the cover art was.
I was thinking about that. And I was I don't really remember too much of poster. I was trying to think of what posters really affected me when I was younger. And one that came to me was The Frighteners. That one where a ghost popping out of a wall. And I remember that really freaking me out as
okay.
I don't know if it live up to the hype now. Back then, it freaked me out. I haven't seen it. So I remember seeing a trailer for it not too long ago, and it came out like a comedy almost. So I don't know. I would have to watch that again.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it too, but I remember enjoying it. I remember thinking it was really good, and because that was a Peter Jackson movie, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, okay.
Yeah, that took me a while to go see. I remember seeing the trailer of that in the theaters too, and it freaked me out.
Okay. So now, prior to your interest in horror, you've mentioned a passion in action movies and that kind of being, a real driving force into, your interest in film. What are 3 scenes or maybe even stunts that are forever ingrained in your brain? Just something that, when you're younger and you see these things, you're like, how the fuck did they pull this off? How did that happen?
Well, I mean, there's definitely quite a few, and because that's not I don't really watch a whole lot of. Well, I mean, I guess I do, but I don't follow it as much anymore. But the one that totally blew my mind was in Matrix Revolutions when very last fight between Neo and Smith. They're floating up in the sky and they're fighting each other. that in the theaters, that was like the most mind blowing thing I've seen. And then when
Okay.
after other movies, like I'd go see movies in theaters, and then once when the theater or once that film, then I'd always go try checking the ending of that film so I can rewatch it. That was enough. That was one. I was always like studying action film when I was, I mean, renting for again. Matrix, all the stuff that Matrix was big. One time in Mexico, there's a car chase in there that I remember really liking when I was younger.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that movie rules too.
The Jet Li, that's one I would watch all the time as far as like the different action scenes that were.
Oh, okay, okay. Nice. As far as with keeping in mind, as far as action films, one of the things that I always loved were some of the wild dog villains that end up in the movies. You have things like Hans Gruber from Die Hard and Clarence and RoboCop. Who are some of your favorite, or maybe some of your favorite villains that came to mind that you were just you couldn't wait to maybe die until the end of the movie? You were just rooting for him to be gone.
I again earlier one as far as action movies, I would say the T-1000 and Terminator 2. That was a big one.
Yes.
But as far as like, yeah, that's a tough one. I don't even. I mean, you mentioned them in Die Hard, but I think the T-1000 is the one I can.
Dude, I mean, and Revolutionary, like when I remember seeing those movies for the first time and seeing like the effects and the you have the bullet wound that goes and basically the body blows open. It's just like
Yeah.
how even that stuff is still today. You watch it back, it's like shit. They did what they had to do on that.
And then like the bullet holes in that one were all practical. Well, partially, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like the action sequences that are mostly practical. I have a hard time watching things now that is all CGI. I don't get that huge like mind blowing when it's completely CGI. When it's all or mostly practical, I definitely how did they pull that off? And
Yeah, yeah. That's something I appreciate, as far as even to say maybe even the last 5 or 10 years is a lot more of film. It feels like it's kind of like a nod to the fans of like, well, let's give them what they want and that interest in making everything very visual and actual even for the actors as far as like being able to sit here and stare at something.
John Wick ones, those are really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then well the Mad Max, but I know a lot of that was like the backgrounds and everything was CGI, but their stunts that one blew me away too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, as far as once your interest in horror ends up developing, a little bit later, you kind of get into, some of the movies and some of the deep cuts as well. What was something as far as an irrational fear, something that popped up that you'd never thought of until you saw a movie and you're like, God damn it, I'm not going to be able to forget this.
I think it was more like the opposite effect because I was so afraid of seeing horror films when I was younger. Like also a really early memory was Descent. I had a bunch of us go see that movie and I couldn't go in there and see it, so I waited outside the theater and to come out. And so when I started actually watching more horror films, I only started really watching them when I was starting to create them. I used to watch them when I was a lot younger. Actually, really young, like when I was in elementary school. I'd rent I was a fan, I guess, of Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street. So Freddy Krueger, I was big. But then Friday the 13th, I would rent them, and then by the time I got to the fourth one, it freaked me out too much, and then I had to not. I stopped it, and then didn't watch anymore after that. But as I got older, I guess fear. Like in my teen years, I wouldn't watch them because I was afraid, and then I started making them, and then I would consume myself with horror movies, and now I have a really hard time finding anything that scares me within horror.
Okay, okay. Has there been anything as of recent that you've watched, or even with some of the things that are out there, like Martyrs, or like different things like that have popped up that you're like, it's pushing
Uh,
it.
I mean, I don't know about how recently, but like Cannibal Holocaust made me go ugh, with the turtle shell being ripped off
Oh yeah.
uh, once. Uh, I remember. So I went through like a huge found footage phase. So I was trying to find every single one that I could, and then there was post mortem or underground post mortem underground. So,
August Mortem's Underground.
I remember watching that, and that one like grossed me out. Not a lot of things.
Yeah, too much.
Um,
Oh no.
but that's all.
Uh,
That's all. That was all like 10 years ago. I'm trying to think of even more recent. Uh, I, well, to Tame that made me a little bit. That just came out.
mhm,
Kind of squeamish a little
mhm.
bit, but not necessarily like fierce. It just made me feel gross.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I can't even think about something that actually like freaked me out. Um, like there's only a couple films that actually freaked me out, and that's uh, the Blair Witch when that first came out. But again, we're talking over 20 years ago. So
Yeah, right, right. I mean, it's still. I think it's kind of out of the realm still of like the '70s and some of the stuff where people say, "Oh, this is the true time of horror." But I mean, certainly, you have Blair Witch, which came out in the '90s, and that was something that when that was first coming out, they had people in theaters saying that these were real events and to be
oh,
respectful to the families. It's like, whoa, that's
yeah, yeah,
next
that
level.
yeah, and it's still like if I can get myself in that mindset, I'll watch that movie at like 2 o'clock in the morning by myself and try getting in the mood, and that will still kind of trip me out. I just feel like that movie, the acting in that, and everything about how that was even shot. Like it feels like none of I know people uh, talk how shaky it is, but none of that film actually feels like they've pointed the camera on purpose because it's fake.
Right.
Or they're acting, or it all felt very organic, and it's still, um, yeah, it will creep me out.
And it still holds up. I've had different people that have said that they've watched it in the '90s and they watched it again. They weren't big on it, and I'm like, man, it still holds
Oh
up to
yeah,
me. I don't.
oh yeah,
It's still there.
yeah. But that could be also nostalgia. I don't know, but um, yeah.
Touche. Yeah. Now, as far as being, someone visually focused, in film as well as photography, tell us about an earlier memory of noticing things like, how a scene was shot, or maybe cinematography, or the pacing of something. What are earlier memories as far as noticing some of those aspects of film?
How scene was shot? Oh man, I am thinking like maybe the earliest is with action sequences. And just I told you I was studying a lot of. I would watch DVDs and uh, watch action sequences over and over and over again, fight scenes, and see how they would go about it. But it was more of like I don't remember if it was more about how lighting a scene or setting up the camera at that stage. I think it was just more of how they captured the action. Well, I think No Country for Old Men when that came out. I think that could have been one of the first ones. Like, wow, this lighting is absolutely. Yeah, that's a tough. That goes back quite a ways. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just like my evolution of trying to make films has been in different stages.
Sure.
So
Okay.
trying to again, like I was doing a bunch of parodies and just trying to make things that are funny and not really focusing on, on the photography aspect until later.
Okay. Okay. And now you've mentioned, you've had some of the things as far as in interviews, you've mentioned with the parodies and different things. What were some of the ones that were, that were your favorites, or even something that you thought that you really you pulled off and got a good laugh out of?
Uh, well, I did like Michael, the one with the beard that we burn off in the film. So he's been acting with me since I met him when he was 11. I was 13. We were in seventh grade, and so he's been acting with me ever since. And so he has a, a double black belt in Taekwondo, I think it is. And so
Jeez.
did we did like Matrix fight thing that we played in front of our high school rally with like thousand people. That was pretty. That was pretty. And then, so since he was the main character in that one, he got all the credit, and everybody was complimenting him, even though I made the project. So then I made I spent all year 17-minute short film that's just parodying all sorts of Lord of the Rings, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I mentioned The Matrix, and you'll never see it, but it's I became the main character of that one, and
Okay.
played that after our high school rally, and then that was like kind of my first like little bit of it, like um, exposure and people caring about what I was doing, and
Yeah.
that was that was definitely it. And I don't know if that was your question, but
Yeah. No. 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 I mean
it was
that's
more
awesome.
like my parodies. It wasn't just trying. I'm trying to remember. Like it wasn't completely copying the exact scene. It was more using the same music, having certain like there was a ring, so there was like Lord of the Rings, just because like I had a ring and the whole focus was like a ring. Uh, yeah, I think that again that was so long ago. That was
Oh shit, that's
years
funny.
ago.
No, no, on your page here, you've shared different photographs and some of your photography work and some absolutely stunning shit there too as well. Kind of bringing up the thought of what were the dynamic between your photography and then when you started shooting movies. Was it something where did that kind of refocus as far as how you would see something or how you would
No, the
reset up a shot?
photography was it's taken. I haven't shot anything of my own movie wise, and I guess it's been 3 years, and so I went out there and shooting. I do weddings. I haven't done a wedding in a long time either, but like weddings, at least I get kind of like that. I'm able to shoot something, but it's still not for me. I'm not using the same gear. So with photography, I don't even shoot like it's not my passion, but it scratches that itch a little bit of being able to capture something beautiful. And so I was only shooting photos the last 3 years or
Hmm.
something. Like as soon as I was basically done with Sator and I wanted to um, that's but yeah, but even now like I haven't done that in a while because I'm focused on trying to get the next project done.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, nice. And I mean, there's like the one shot in particular with like that you had shot the fireworks, and I think somebody had mentioned like, man, what kind of editing did you do on this? And you're like, it's just a
Oh,
picture. It's like,
I mean,
holy shit.
yeah, no, that was a good day. I proposed to my wife on that day, and um, yeah, that was in Venice. That if that's the photo you're talking about with all the fireworks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Wow. I mean, well, that apparently went well.
It, she plays Ed too. She's the
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice, nice. All right, awesome. So now, as far as the film wise, and earlier mentions as far as inspiration, you've mentioned Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith as early inspirations. What can you tell us about your first efforts at making movies, and maybe seeing certain things out of said directors that you wanted to emulate or kind of work with on making your first shorts?
Uh, yeah, again for the parodies. Uh, and I'm trying. Man, that's the my first inspiration. I mean, my first inspirations were, as far as when I wanted to take it really seriously and get away from parodies and stuff, I guess, were the Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith with because Kevin Smith has like his own uh, movie brands within, like he has his own universe before the Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino before the Marvel universe, and I really liked that whole aspect, and so I created my own brand, and that was kind of like I think my first inspiration. Um,
Okay.
Trying to think of like in the beginning. I know it's like now, like I know filmmaker like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino don't really influence my way of trying to make things now. I could tell you about filmmakers, but later. But as far as earlier, again, it was just more finding films that I liked that I wanted to kind of make parodies of, and kind of practicing filmmaking, not so much focusing on the director at first. That was the start. I mean, that was like 4 or 5 years. Right? Heard of like my first director, or yeah, because Kevin Smith, that was the first. I saw Jane and Silent Bob Strike Back. That was my first Kevin. Oh no, it wasn't Dogma. So Dogma was my first.
Okay. Yeah.
I think my inspiration with that was just I really liked Jane and Silent Bob, and then I found out that Kevin Smith was Silent Bob, and so then I went back and was watching. That's when I found Clerks, and that's where I'd rent movies and try um, copying them onto VHS, and even then, copyright aspect on it where they're like the it would be all blurry. But I still have those old VHS tapes where I have like Dogma and Clerks and Chasing Amy, and so. But I feel like that was more not so much of Kevin Smith being like I wasn't really caring about his directing style or his writing. I feel like I just cared because he was Silent Bob, and that was funny to me back then. I mean, we're talking about when I was 13, 14. Um, so that was my earliest, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and it brings up a point too, where it was kind of fun, where that being an earlier time of thinking of a director, and I guess maybe like Mel Brooks did this too, and I mean, I'm sure there's tons of others I'm not thinking of, but as far as like my interests, remembering like, oh, that's kind of fun. This is the director that's sitting here, and he doesn't say shit, but he just wanted to put himself somewhere and just
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
hang out and have fun.
yeah, and that's how it kind of was originally, and then then it got kind of serious as far as other filmmakers and really starting to care, like the Coen brothers and Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Those are Paul Thomas Anderson still. I mean, he influences me in a lot of stuff that I'm doing in the future, hopefully, and that was like Boogie Nights, and I'm just just trying to go back and what filmmakers really influenced me then. I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, that's good. If you had the opportunity now, as far as kind of the years that have gone by and the things that you've learned, in working in Sator all these years too, especially, what would you go back and remake out of any of these shorts? If there was something that you could, maybe add a little flair to and a little bit more of, your talents to
Well,
right now.
that is interesting. So, I made this film in high school as well. My senior year, it was another one that I played at our rallies, and this one was the first project I took pretty seriously, but it was very influenced by Lord of the Rings, and we used to do like wire work. So my dad built like this pulley system, and so I used to have like our actors fly around, and so. But since I did try taking it very seriously, it is just full of nothing but cliches. Like even the ending, the last scene of it, the actor or one character goes to another actor like, "Where will you be going?" And the other actor turns around and dramatically says, "Home," and has all that like cliche. and I haven't watched it in years, and I mean it's like 15 years after I finally got the balls to watch it like a couple months ago, uh, and it's bad. Like, and I don't like I act in it too, and I'm trying to be like really really cool. And I'm I don't even see that person anymore, so I'm not too embarrassed because I was such a little kid, but it is bad, like it's awful. But the structure of it is, I'm actually really impressed that I was able to create something with that type of structure, and I'm trying to take that plot structure and some basic things with that and rewrite it and maybe pitch that as a darker, like dark fantasy one day. So I would
Oh, dang! Wow.
like to remake that film one day. It would be a lot different, and then I would put that film, the one that I did, maybe on like special features.
Okay.
Uh, but
That's awesome. I mean, and that kind of brings to mind as far as thinking of like one thing that I always loved when M. Night Shyamalan's movies would come out onto DVD and they'd have the special features, and
oh,
he would have the movie that inspired, what this may have been, or an old alien movie that he had that, was something. I've always thought that was so cool. And even though maybe at the time embarrassing or something that's like kind
mhm.
of cringy that you look back at, it's like, it was the honest effort that you had at the time, and I absolutely love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, special features. I mean, going back to like inspirations, Robert Rodriguez, I feel like a huge thing with him inspiring me. It wasn't so much of him like the type of movies he was making, I guess, but it was more the special features. He had the 10-minute film school on his on DVDs, and so I learned a lot from his special features. And he did on Once Upon a Time in Mexico. He had a commentary track that was all a Foley sound and sound effects, and I had no way of recording sound effects back then. So I would plug in my DVD camera or DVD player into my camera and rip those sound effects and put in my old projects.
Whoa. Okay. Damn.
Uh, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I've had different people too who have mentioned before, like making little things, and they would go on their Xbox and import sounds, and then end up transferring it over and different
Oh,
shit like that. And
that Matrix fight I was telling you about, I plugged the PlayStation 2 into the camcorder and played Enter the Matrix and got all those like swishing sounds and then put that. uh, yeah, that I had no way of recording sound effects. That
Oh man. I
yeah,
mean, but it's admirable, even, in those times of picking your brain and coming up with this shit, like, especially at this time when it's like, I would assume this is far enough back where, YouTube wasn't a thing, or at least it wasn't like
and
what it is now, where you're not being taught these things. It's just you're sitting around, dicking around. You're like, oh, maybe this will work.
yeah, and also with YouTube being around, I'm glad it wasn't then because if I'd be so embarrassed uploading all this. They're still fine. Like you can actually find my fight online somewhere on YouTube, but that's because I'm not like acting in it really, because it's
Oh, okay.
embarrassing. But there's probably like 5 of my old film stuff that you can find on there. But I did quite a few, and yeah, I won't put those on. And copyright stuff like with, it'll get claimed really quickly with music.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Shit, now
Oh
you
yeah,
go and try to put that up. It's like,
yeah.
oh, can't
Special,
have that.
I don't know if special effects would be claimed, but like all those old movies are nothing but just ripping off those movies that I was copying, and so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice.
Sator was the complete opposite of that. I created every single sound myself on that one. If I can go back and remake that movie, I would definitely have one of the biggest things would be somebody to record sound on the day. That would be having a crew. Like, oh, I'll never make a movie by myself again.
I mean, I can certainly say like that was, you know, being one of the things as far as some of the subtleness in how creepy, you know, the elements ended up, you know, popping out, and without it being some sort of jump scare or different things, even, you know, the focus on Adam's face, and then you have, you know, crinkling in the background, you just see something moving. Some simple things like that. That's the shit that gets me. Even now, any sort of a horror movie.
And that's where the Blair Witch project,
Right.
that's where a huge influence came from, because those, when you're hearing in that film, like the rocks crackling in the background, it actually sounds like it's out in the distance.
Mm.
And I wanted to capture that. I didn't want to have it sound so much like it's in a studio. Like the newest Blair Witch project, or Blair Witch movie, I could tell they just used a bunch of sound libraries that just sound like it's like in a video game, or it's very recorded in a studio. And so I wanted to make sure I wanted that feeling of where all the sound actually sounds like it's coming from the forest off in the distance, because that's the stuff, yeah, that creeps me out as well.
Now, so, I mean, as far as that, because that was another aspect that I was going to mention too, was like something right away that, you know, drew me and kind of made it have just this whole different texture in a sense, as far as the sound design and work with that. Was that something where, did you initially, you know, shoot a bunch of stuff and end up having it, and then something came up to where you didn't like how it sounded, and then you went back and redid it, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I building the I just was never in a good sound environment to record the sound. Like, I would set up a boom. I did a couple times, set up a boom pole and just had it like aimed towards the actors. But I built that cabin in my mom's backyard, and that's on a busy street. So I would constantly be hearing cars, and and there's always just distractions. And so, and since the main character doesn't talk very much, I uh, decided I was going to get most of it, almost all of it, in post, except for my grandmother. With her speaking, I knew that I wasn't going to be like, I can't tell her to say anything, so I knew there'd be no way to dub that over. So I did capture everything that she said in the film.
Okay.
And luckily, like that worked. There were some issues there that I had to clean up, but like I had to make sure to go there and unplug the refrigerator. And that was a while ago too. I shot the film 6 years ago, or yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, time's gone by, huh? You know, and it's one of those things too, to where I've seen, you know, the post sound be something where it's, you know, it kind of is overly obvious, but definitely I feel like it was a complimentary aspect. I didn't know if it was something to where something, you know, popped up, but I mean, you mentioned that watching the movie, you know, even it was probably a huge pain in the ass to do and go, you know, scene
Yeah,
by scene.
yeah. It
But
took a year
it,
to do just the sound. Like, yeah,
oh my God.
I have a, I do like, so when the Blu-ray comes out, I do have a director's commentary that I kind of go into detail about that and actually play examples, so you can kind of see what I did or hear what I did.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
And I forgot, I lost my train of thought on the second part. But yeah, it took a lot of time.
Oh, God.
That was the worst part of making this film, because and like Santa Cruz has been in a drought forever, but the day I decided I was going to start getting record audio, we got a whole bunch of weather, and so trying to go out into the woods and get quiet, because the movie's very quiet. All I'm hearing is streams, from rivers or from creeks, and so I ended up having to make like a little fully pit in my mom's garage out of mattresses, and I did a lot, but I could only record from like 11 o'clock at night till like 5 o'clock in the morning, because like there's a mile buoy from us that's out in the ocean, and I hear the buoy going off all the time. So and I hear sea lions. So there's even at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's still all these distractions. So
Oh my God.
a real fully studio, I guess. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I do appreciate you saying that. It's all like it sounded real and not completely made up. Because yeah, I had that like my tracks of audio. I think it was like 50, maybe 40 something to 50 tracks of audio, thousands
Holy shit.
on that. At my No Film School article that I did, there's a photo of my timeline, my audio timeline, and the thousands and thousands of clips. But I condense it so some of them are even like blended into each other from that photo, so you can't even see all the little fine ones. Um,
I
yeah,
thought that was the movie. That was just the audio?
the what the oh no, that was just the
That
audio.
image on the no film school.
Audio, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Bless you, man.
What?
I said
What?
bless you. Dear Lord.
I
That's
didn't.
insane.
Did you think I burped?
No, for taking the time, the
Oh,
patience.
okay. I
You
thought you.
know, I'm saying, boy, you have more of a patience than I would ever have for something like that. Yeah,
Thank you.
no, I saw the image and I thought that was
But
like the movie cut up.
at least that was like creating something. Yeah, it got to me a little bit, but at least I was still creating. The right now the patience is kind of like just waiting to get reads back on the script, and
Sure.
it's been a lot of waiting around right now. So
Huh. Well, I tell you, I'm when you're on set making this next movie, I hope nobody ever tells you to have some patience because, Jesus Christ,
yeah, yeah.
you've no idea.
I I hope not either, but
So as far as so you've mentioned in different interviews buying all the equipment in the during the production and starting the production of Sator while building the cabin for the film. Tell us about the first pieces that you bought starting your so to speak arsenal for the movie.
well, gear wise, as soon as I got the budget, I guess. So a friend, how I got the budget is I tried doing a Kickstarter or a Indiegogo that failed, and then I had a friend that loaned me half the budget.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he just offered it, we went out for a drink, and we weren't even really talking. I was going to ask him for any money, but he offered it, and so as soon as I got that check, then I bought all my gear basically at once. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so that was that. As far as props and stuff, the first piece that because I had to even when I was writing the script, I was collecting props and things that I was going to be using. And the very first thing that I got was the little refrigerator that's in the.
Hmm.
I found that on the side of a Goodwill that they were tossing out. So uh, that was the first. I had to. Then the second piece was the sink. I found that sink on, on Craigslist, and so like yeah, each piece of that cabin I had to find, and and or create or build or whatever. So, but yeah, I was collecting like again, I built in my mom's backyard, and her garage was filled of props and stuff that I was end up.
Man,
That was
that's
how
awesome.
I had any money or anything for the film.
Right. Okay. Now, am I blending? I might be blending certain things between your grandmother's house and then the cabin there. But did you have running water in the cabin?
No,
Okay,
no.
so that was scenes from in the house then that I'm thinking of, as far as like at the sink and because for some
But
reason I
yeah,
started thinking,
my grandmother's house with the running water. There was
okay,
there I think at the beginning of in the cabin, but it's just sound effects. You know, like you hear a sink going off. That's actually my favorite sound effect in the film was the the water faucet turns on, turns off, and then you can hear it creaking throughout the water pipes creaking, and I was able to like mix it 5.1 surround, so I was able to hear like the creaking go around the house, and
oh my god,
and that's in the cabin, but that was just sound effects. You don't have, there was no water.
oh okay, that must be what I was thinking of because I was like, Because I mean, doing research and looking further into the movie, I'm like, how the fuck does he get? First of all, you build this thing, and not having I would assume any sort of background in just building fucking buildings, but then you have water
No,
in the place. I'm like,
oh,
what?
definitely not. Like that cabin, it lasted about 2 years, and there were rats living in it by the end.
Oh no!
Falling, like the roof was made out of this particle board, and anytime it rained, I ended up having to put like these braces up because the rain would build up on the top of it and create like a half pipe in the middle of the cabin. And but by the time I was close to being done, the weather just completely destroyed it. And
Oh
uh,
man.
yeah, I had that cabin was definitely a struggle. It's a bit like I almost wanted to quit the movie just trying to build the doors for it because I couldn't. The doors were so heavy, um, and I couldn't get them to line up along with the door. Uh, yeah, the cabin was. Yeah, I don't have any experience in. That was just complete passion of wanting to make a movie.
Yeah, right. Jesus. Insane. So, I mean, aside from using film lights, which you had mentioned, that was a first time
Mhm.
on Sator, and and doing the building and different aspects. Were there certain things technically, as far as film wise, that was a first time approach as opposed to earlier efforts or anything else that you've done before?
Like actually shooting. I mean, like audio. I can see that's the first time capturing audio that way.
Okay.
As far as um, first time with, I feel like I think it was the first time waiting for the perfect weather. I guess it was a cinematic camera. Like I shot on Red Scarlet. That was the first time ever using like a camera of that quality before, uh, and learning that because there was definitely like the first few days of shooting didn't a lot of the footage didn't work out because I shot it too dark or I was definitely learning the camera as we were. I shot for 120 days on this thing, so I got pretty used to how the camera worked by the end of it. But
Okay.
yeah, but I definitely had to like when I was shooting with the camera. I never had a LUT on. I don't know what a LUT, but I never. It's like a kind of a picture profile of what you kind of want your image to look like on the camera, and I was just shooting. Uh, what I was looking at was just a complete raw image, and so I wasn't even looking at my um, the monitor to see the light profile to see how bright or dark I was supposed my meters on there on within the, at first I was later on in the movie, so I was just darkening the I was trying to darken it, and I didn't realize that I was the image way too dark at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I was just looking at a complete raw image, and then when I go and put the color profile or what the red gamma LUT or whatever in post production, it was so dark, and whenever I tried brightening it up, it was super grainy. I was editing as I was by the way.
Oh my
So
God.
catch my I was able to catch my mistakes somewhat early. So and then go back and correct
I
it.
mean, but did that cause more of a headache? Do you think, looking back at it?
No, no, the shooting, not really. I
Oh,
loved.
okay.
I thought that like the headache was my grandmother's stuff, like because she wasn't supposed to be part of the film. So,
Yeah,
uh,
right.
trying to get because whatever she's saying is she believes. So trying, and you can't tell her what to say. So you're kind of you're improving, you're going with it, and so I had to create a story out of whatever she was talking about, and that got really complicated. So that was the biggest headache as far as shooting. But even shooting those scenes with her, I mean, I those are all that was I'm like that was fun. I love
Yeah,
shooting. With the post production, that was that was very very difficult.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
like when I'm only out there with one actor most of the time, and we're not really pressed for time except for like weather, I guess. We'd only a little bit. That's why we had like 120 days. I wasn't like when we were in the cabin, and I would only do one lighting setup a day because it would take me forever to reset the lights, and I tried doing that early on with the actor while he was waiting. It's like, I can't let you be here for hours. Like, once we're done with this lighting setup, then you'll go home and we'll
Yeah. Okay.
uh, so I kind of took my time a little bit on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so as far as something that caught my eye and had me, in the times of fortunately having Google and different searches and things, the brands that were in this movie, you have Young Love Island Beer Company and Crooks Vodka and God, now I'm trying to think of Pete's Hat. Shit. What can you tell us about the brands in this movie? How did those come
So
about?
I've had most of those for uh, 13 years or so.
Okay.
That's where my influence from Kevin Smith and
Okay.
about with, because they're having their own in-world brands and having their worlds kind of connect. That's what like really inspired me. And that was like a commercial or a business kind of decision, or a whereas if one of my films don't do well, and then like let's say Sator uh, didn't do well, and my next film does really well, then maybe, and it kind of connects, people can kind of go back and see how it will connect, and then maybe it'll bring new life to it. And so I have films that, or projects that maybe I'd like to put out there one day that will have those brands. But yeah, so like the Crooks Vodka, that was how that came even about. Was one of my earlier projects, a character had Cook's champagne, and it's like, oh well, I'm gonna get in trouble that it says Cook, so I put an R in there and made it say Crooks, and that's where that the like I have 210 cigarettes, and that I had a friend in high school that was, I think he got really high and was tripping out over the number 210, and I loved how he was just getting erratic over. But 210, I put a picture back when I was young. I used to put my dog in all my we had this Boston Terrier that I put in all my films, and then when she died, I put her picture on the 210 cigarettes. So now she's still in all my films. It's just on a cigarette brand. And then the Young Love Island Brewing. That's kind of so my banner or whatever, the Mystic Jade Films. That's the very first actress I ever had. Her name was Jaji, so Jade Jaji, and
Okay.
she died of cystic fibrosis
Wow.
in 2006. So I named my Mystic Jade film banner off of her, and she lived on Young Love Street, which here in Santa Cruz. So and where the island came from is in Santa Cruz. We live in a bay, and on the opposite end of the bay there is Monterey. And sometimes when the fog comes in, it makes the bay look like an island. And a lot of tourists will come here, and well, sometimes, and they'll think it's either Catalina Island or they'll think it's Hawaii, and even though it's not an island. And so, but since I like to have my movie worlds kind of connect, and I have Midground, which is Santa Cruz, and so the island is Young Love Island, and I wanted to connect that somehow in this film, and so I created Young Love Island Brewing. So it's a long the brewing things. So the girl on the Young Love Island Brewing, that's her. So I created that image, and that's actually the exact image that's of the banner of the girl walking with the Mississippi open.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez,
And
I
she's
did not connect that, but I see it now.
the main actress in that film that I did in high school that I would like to rewrite. and
Oh, really?
structured. Yeah. So
Shit.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
adding a lot of personal things throughout these
Uh,
projects. So
I mean, honestly, it would be the same thing, like even having like a Kevin Smith if I ever got, the opportunity interviewing him. I love those small details and those small things. And that was one of the things where I'm kind of seeing in focus the bottle and the label, and I'm like looking, I'm like, I've never heard of this shit before. I'm looking, I'm like,
yeah,
I can't find anything on it. Like I have to ask about this.
yeah.
And I love those things.
I
That's awesome.
bottles and then like with the beer caps, so I got those beer caps printed out, and then I went through each one and dented them and to make them look like they've been used. And uh yeah, so I mean, that's
Damn.
one little detail that I put a bunch of effort in for this project. But like I feel like in time, if hopefully my career grows, and then people can look back at that and appreciate it more. So
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Was it beer in the bottles, or did you have like a water or a tea?
I don't. I feel like I put beer in one of them, but no, it's just water. Like,
You got Adam in a scene, taking a drink. He's like, "Oh shit,
yeah, yeah,
wrong one."
yeah. I think it was just water. But
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, so as far as what through all the trials and errors and exhaustion, working on Sator, what is the one thing that you would consider a must-have for this next feature? Something that maybe even having a better version of, or something that you wish that you had had
that's true.
working on Sator.
Like even just like
Perfect.
the biggest thing, like that tripod that I was carrying for Sator was fucking heavy, and I developed something called costochondritis in my sternum, so I have like an inflammation in my.
Oh my God. Okay.
I
Not
got,
funny. All right.
I
I'll stop.
from building the cabin, and the doctor said that like the inflammation will go away, but you got to rest. But then I had to shoot the film, and so I'm holding the tripod and the gimbal, and that inflamed it even more. So just having anybody carry my tripod for me would be like,
Jeez.
so yeah, just help. That's what the must
Okay.
help. And I really want to just start collaborating with people. That's I don't want this to just be entirely on me. Um,
Okay.
like if I fuck up on a film, I want a producer to blame.
I love that. No, so recently, Cauldron Films announced that they're releasing a Blu-ray for this bad boy, which I'm stoked on. Have it pre-ordered, and I can't wait to get that. You've mentioned an in-depth director's commentary, even today you've mentioned that as well. What can you tell us about going back and revisiting that, and maybe some of the things that maybe even in interviews you had forgotten about, yeah, and got to dig into during this commentary, doing this commentary.
Well, like commentary was still just, it was like another job, or another aspect of trying to create. Like it wasn't. I didn't just sit back and watch the movie and just comment on it. I wrote out not. I basically wrote out everything that I was going to be talking about. It took me like a week or two to actually create the whole thing, because I wanted to give a really in-depth. I did do where I sat back and just commented on it, and there was so much dead air, and I was kind of being jokey, and I was like, this is my time to talk about every little aspect that I did on this film. I actually want to put some effort into this, so it
I love
wasn't
that.
like sitting there and watching it and absorbing it again. Or as it was, I wasn't absorbing it as like a viewer. I was just another piece of trying to get this project out there. So,
Sure. Okay.
and there's only, because I've seen this film probably 1,000 times, probably more than that. I have watched it so many times, and there is only just a couple times within there that I was able to watch like a viewer, maybe like kind of separate myself from it and be able to actually try to enjoy it. But I haven't watched it in a year now, and I don't have any desire to watch it again.
Yeah.
I'll like I'll put on some scenes like I'll watch like just like a segment because somebody will mention something and then I'll go back and look at it and I'm kind of like almost embarrassed to watch. Like I'm really proud of it. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm super proud of this film, but I know I've grown a lot from it and I'm ready to. I can do something better than
turn the page and start a new chapter for sure.
yeah.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned that too. There was actually a moment. So I've seen the movie, probably a few times before this, but a couple of days ago, I was sitting here and kind of doing last minute notes and kind of digging into some things. And I noticed, so at 6 minutes, I mentioned to you, I had to message and ask about this. 6 minutes, 22 seconds. There's a point where the dog grunts and then it focuses on Adam's face. And there's kind of like a rocky, like mountainscape behind.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's eyes and a nose in this. Was this purposely placed? How did this happen? Because there's dialogue right after that makes this moment creepy as shit.
No, I did see it, but I saw it like while I was editing, and I was like, look at that! There looks like a face right there. That's pretty cool. But I didn't see it. That was just a fluke.
Dude,
accident.
That's insane because there's dialogue right after too, where your grandmother's talking about the Sator, the eyes of Sator look over those who fear, or something to the effect of that. Excuse me if I'm misquoting, but
always watching it or whatever. God, man, I feel like I would know every. I haven't watched it in a while, but I like if you told me this like 2 years ago, and you said at 6 minutes and whatever second, I would know instantly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You play me like a split second and of the sound of the movie, and I would be able to place exactly where that is.
Okay.
When I was making it.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, the eye thing that was accident. Like that.
Oh, that. I mean, I'm glad to be able to, to have this in here and anybody that's watching be able to look at that and kind of look back because, like I say, I'd watched it a few times. I'd never noticed it. And it was just whatever reason, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it again and I'm kind of looking beyond the focus of him and I'm like, there's a fucking face right there. Like that's uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's absolutely insane. Look, I'm really excited about getting this Blu-ray. I'm so stoked, that it's getting some recognition as far as getting a physical release.
Yeah,
that's such a cool thing.
For like my entire life, having somebody actually put some effort into creating a really nice physical release, I'm really excited to actually have my hands on it too.
Yeah, awesome. That's so, and I mean, in having also the slip cover, and I can't remember. Is there a poster that comes with it?
That I read there is. I don't know if they're going to use the one that I created, which I know that's the cover. But then there was another guy that created a poster for me. I think his Instagram is brutal posters. I'm pretty sure, and so it could have that one. I don't know. I didn't really have anything to do with getting the distribution on that. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's the sales agent.
So you just found out like the rest of us?
Well, I knew that they were creating one for about a year now.
Okay.
But I had no idea that they were going to be making like the slip cover, and I didn't know much about them, so I was looking up because they don't have very many releases, and I was looking up what they have in like their covers have like the embossed text, and I don't know if they're going to do that for Sator, but that'd be pretty cool. But
oh man,
it looks like they put in a lot of the quality. They make it really good quality, so I want it. So
yep. Yeah, for sure.
Collecting boutique Blu-rays and 4K stuff in the beginning of the pandemic, so I'm definitely I'm excited to have it too.
Nice. Yeah, I mean they honestly they put in a good quality, a great quality, as far as even just different things with, when you pop in the disc and just looking at things. Sometimes you'll have, every once in a while you pop something in and it just everything kind of looks clunky or everything's really nice, technically as far as that visually, aesthetically. and then the releases of them too. There's lots of times because I mean we were talking. There's lots of times they sell out. I mean those
Yeah.
things are gone. You know they're limited editions too. So I think that one's like out of 1,000.
Yeah. So, yeah, no,
Slick.
it's cool. And then maybe one day, I don't know through them, but I would love for there to be a 4K release of it someday. But
Awesome.
you can watch the 4K right now though on Amazon and Apple TV.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but no, I'm excited. So and
Yeah.
the commentary, I've been wanting that out now for over a year, and so I'm excited for people to actually start that.
Sweet. Are there other special features as far as like anything behind the scenes or anything like that?
It like so when I built the cabin, I had a GoPro on my head, and I was going to do that throughout the whole film, but I got way too stressed having to worry about that when I was making it. So I did create like a minute and a half, like kind of quick cut showing me building the cabin and some behind the scenes stuff that I did at the very beginning with that GoPro. It's really short. I didn't realize that they were actually going to use that, so I would have maybe edit something a little bit longer. But so yeah, that's about it as far as.
Damn.
So not much with video, but I feel like the commentary is uh, worth it. Yeah.
Sick.
A lot.
I can't wait.
I didn't just like talk. I I brought in sound effects. I do talk about how like how I recorded the sound, but then I play examples, and then I do have like my grandmother passed away, and I have her final voicemail that she sent me
Mm.
on that commentaries, and then Rachel Evie, the character that plays or the actress that played my wife, she has a little section telling her favorite story. So
Wow.
so I feel like the commentary is pretty
Awesome.
in depth. So
Awesome. That's so right. I mean, all of that stuff, like myself, first and foremost, being a collector and a fan, that's kind of what my page has started as and still is, honestly, is those interests, and lots of friends on here are going to be excited about that stuff. And the slip cover, the special features behind the scenes stuff. That's always awesome to see those
yeah.
things and kind of get, like a more personal look at, how things are made and stories behind. So
Yeah.
that's fucking that's awesome. I know I'm excited, and I know friends that have watched the movie, and I've introduced a lot of people to the movie too. And
Thank you.
absolutely radical, man. That's look. This is wrapping our time here today. I once again truly appreciate the time and the stories and the effort into digging into some of these earlier memories.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to do this. And, yeah,
absolutely. Well, we'll be in touch, and I'm sure with some of your newer stuff here, we'll hopefully dig into that as well. So
be down to do it again. So
awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much, and you take care and stay healthy and stay safe, man.
all right, bye.
All right, see you.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.